It's been a while since we've had a guest on Lulz, and excited about our guest today. He goes by Sports Projections on Twitter. He's an OG in the DFS space, has built some tools, and you guys might know him more recently from the Risk Takers podcast, a phenomenal podcast within the gambling and sports betting spaces. And we're going to talk to him about his origin story and all of this prediction markets mania. Brian and I can't even get through a week without a million storylines, tweets about how this stuff is progressing at a rapid pace. So we'll touch on that today. I'm Pete with Brick and our guest SP. Let's do it.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us. All right. We do have to, our audio listeners won't be able to tell the difference, but those watching today, we're going to protect SP's, facial anonymity. You will hear his voice, but SP, welcome to the program. Welcome your avatar to the program as well.
Thank you. Long time listener. I'm sure many people were anxious to see my in-basement face, but they'll have to wait for maybe a later date for that.
Yes, I was going to ask because you do a great podcast, the Risk Takers podcast with Golden Pants. There, has he tried to twist your arm to doing video, or was that a quick conversation as well?
Well, so when we started it, I was pretty quick to say I didn't really want to do video. He did video in the past. I think now we both sort of appreciate not having to do video or maintain any of that. I know you guys go live and everything, but just sometimes cutting things that people were interviewing say or whatnot would just be more of a hassle with video. So I think we're going to stick with that for now.
Yes, I will. Behind the curtain, I'll say SP did reveal to us what he looked like before the show. So Brian and I get to picture him, but you guys are going to have to use your own imagination.
If he ever commits a crime, we can sketch him out now. So it's probably a big mistake with that face reveal.
Nah, this is a trustworthy show.
How have you, because, before you were making tools, and then obviously it's a jump to go from that to making content. Have you enjoyed that? I mean, I've heard you talk about it a little bit on the podcast, but where are you at now with that aspect of things?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved talking about it. I don't have for a long time, my friends in real life are just normal gamblers. They're not people. I don't have any friends in real life who play DFS or any sort of serious gambling. So my only outlet to talk about it for a long time was just Twitter. And so I love to talk about all of this stuff. So for me, it's been really enjoyable to just, talk about some of the more intricacies at gambling, DFS, all these things that I just love to talk about and have an outlet to do so.
That's what I love about your podcast, Risk Takers, their podcast. It's one of the beautiful things about this crazy world we're living in currently is can be a podcast somehow made just for you. It's kind of like that for me. It's you guys talk about the nerdiest model building type of stuff that you don't really get to talk with in real life. For sure. And even in online circles, you really don't. It's pretty tough to hear people talking about that. So I appreciate your guys' podcast. He's more than just a tools builder, Pete, right? He gambles, he sports bets, he's legit. He's a legit gambler. I want to say too, did you go to school? I might have this wrong. Did you go to school were you going to be for an actuary or something?
I am an actuary. I work full time. I am an actuary. I went my degrees in math and everything. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Actuary is the best training ground, in my opinion, for this world. I'm assuming you agree with that.
Yeah, I think the two most common that I hear are actuary and types of engineers. For sure. I think actuary has a big part where it's pricing uncertainty is like a big part of it. And that's, being a, I don't necessarily work at an insurance company, but that's what a lot of actuaries do. Coming up with, premiums or whatnot is very, very similar, has a lot of crossover to like being a bookmaker, really. So there's just a lot of overlap between the two for sure.
Just change just jack up the vig. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I don't know, 50%.
Yeah, right. Both bookmakers and insurance companies are beloved by all their customers. Very popular industries to be in.
Did you find, because I hear stories of people with maybe similar backgrounds as you who then have gotten into, sports speculation, gambling, it going in both ways, where they like taught themselves how to like build things because of fantasy sports or DFS or whatever, versus like taking the skills you had already been employing as an actuary? Like which came first for you, as far as, did you take stuff you had been doing at work and then were like, wait, I can just directly apply that to fantasy modeling or whatever?
Yeah, 100%. I think you learn some like basic coding type stuff in school, and then that's a big part of the job and like all the data aspects, but nothing's going to get you better at it faster than actually like wagering your dollars on it, whether it be, like DFS or whatever. So I would say the vast majority of the technical skills I have were accelerated through gambling and that helps you at your job, right? So yeah, for sure, there's crossover.
Yeah, gambling the boss's money is not as painful as gambling your own.
Yeah,
for sure.
What was your introduction to DFS? I assume, were you doing DFS stuff more seriously before you got way into the sports betting, or were those similar origins for you?
Yeah, so in the intro, you said I was an OG. I wouldn't really consider myself an OG. I'm a little bit, I would say I came in like still early, but not like true groundbreaking. So I guess to give like a brief origin story, I'm about 30. So I started playing like unseriously, probably like in college around. Obviously didn't have a lot of money, didn't really know what I was doing. And I wouldn't say like I really took it seriously in any capacity. I was trying for sure, but like any serious in terms of like time spent and investment and all this stuff until around COVID, a little before that. Like sort of like when legalization started, like sports betting legalization is when I started to take all of this probably more seriously. So, been playing DFS and all these things for a long time, but definitely wasn't like, I wish I was like 5 years older in a lot of respects, to catch some of those earlier days DFS, but I'm sure that's, what everybody says as well. So
the other thing I feel like I associate with your quote unquote personal brand, you strike me as a guy who would love that term, is you were diving deep into the pick six stuff on DraftKings, it kind of following its arc as far as being this new game format that was kind of exciting. And there were these big edges to being the one with the megaphone saying how the game had gone to shit.
Yeah, I would say that was like if I was going to be like early in something like that, all the DFS 2.0 type of stuff was what I, have spent a lot of time in the past 5 years and whatnot. And pick six was certainly one of them. Yeah, I mean, it was really, we could talk about it however you want. It was really good in the beginning for people who came from DFS or had like an idea of some basic like concepts like that. It was really, really good. It's, there's still opportunities. It's changed a lot. It's not nearly as good for like what I would consider like a DFS type thinker. But yeah, I got very, very into that last year specifically.
Yeah. I mean, long story short, for people who don't follow him on Twitter, they just ruined it basically. I mean, he said, you just said there's still some edge, I'm sure, but they jacked up I believe they like jacked up the rake. They changed the kind of parimutuel structure of it all. It's not as skill based as it initially was. I mean, I thought when it first came out, I'm like, okay, this is great. This is exactly the direction. And eventually maybe we'll start talking about legislation at the end of the podcast, but like, this is where like these legislatures should be directing these companies is peer-to-peer betting, right? Like if you're going to allow it at all, like this is where you should nudge them. And of course, after whatever a year They basically ruin it. I was a quick sidebar. Were you around for the arcade mode of DFS?
I remember that. I never played it
Okay.
seriously, but yeah, I remember it.
It was kind of a combo of the two. More DFS, but like less players. That was pretty juicy for a little while. Sorry, Pete, you were going to say something.
Oh no, I wanted SP maybe to give like the cliff notes on like what were the biggest edges before, you know, they ruined it. Like what kind of things were you taking advantage of?
Yeah, so like Brian was saying, like it used to be way more like game theory based. Like it mattered a lot more what other people were doing. Now I would sort of describe it as like prize picks or underdog light, where it's really just about it's very similar to sports betting now, like just normal sports betting. There's some aspects of it. But so like back last year and prior, if there was much more of a premium if you could like win when other people lost, like very similar to DFS. It was very, very similar in that way. But it was like even more extreme because it was very early days. So people had no concept of like playing things that were unpopular. So just like some of the most basic stuff of like, if a game, like primetime game, everybody's going to play like, you know, overs, scoring, touchdowns, all these things. If the game, you know, was like an ugly game or there was aspects. So that was like first layer. Second layer was sort of like, you know, someone who had a general idea would do these correlation angles, like all the quarterbacks and receivers over or all under. And so like the biggest payouts were when like you had all these sort of like this mixed scenario where quarterbacks went over, but their wide receiver ones went under and all these things. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity just going like against the most obvious things. It's not like DFS where I would say DFS is at like level 55 or something now where it's at like with everybody out leveling each other. This is like level 1 and 2 still. So it's pretty good.
Yeah. And then it just the rake and how did they make some concrete structures to the tweaks to the game as well, or was it just kind of how it was raked that ruined it?
Well, so what they did is they increased the floors. So basically, if you got 6 out of 6 right, your floor increased, and to pay for that, they increased the rake. And so what they would tell you is, you know, the effective rake, you know, didn't go up. I think it did in some sports and didn't in other sports, to be fair. But what that causes is then there's like not an incentive to be unique anymore, because now the minimum is like enough to just like people just play for that and it's reasonable. Like last year, it would be a really bad idea to like submit one lineup for like 10K into like the whatever 2-pick level, because you know you're going to just like floor yourself. Now there's not really a disincentive to do that. So like now, you know, people can share slips and all these things, and you're not cannibalizing yourself. So it just changed the incentives and like strategy of the game.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I do just completely associate your Twitter account with chronicling the arc of that game and the excitement for it to just complete disillusionment.
It's like one of those graphs, you know, like this.
Yeah.
Like every one of his tweets is like, I guess I'm never playing that ever again.
I really tried to, you know, like fight it. At this point it's clear I've lost that battle, so I don't mind talking about it.
Yeah. Jason Robbins loves competition. He'll tell you all about it, you know, but when push comes to shove, they do not give a shit.
We're gonna get into prediction market stuff, but is there anything else like DFS 2.0 or, you know, DFS OG stuff that still captures your attention or that you really like playing or trying to solve?
I think the only places I really I play DFS these days is really like sports where you know, the don't dupe me bros, you know, TM on this podcast is still a big part of it. I think there's still reasonable opportunities there, at least for me. It's just, you know, like I'm sort of out of the streets, so I'm honestly curious like what the temperature is from Brian, but it just seems so competitive these days.
Yeah.
And it's just like, for me, I'm just trying to look at it as like where are the best opportunities for me to spend my time in DFS. It's just like, I love the game. It's super cool. And I wish it was like not so far along in the ecosystem, but it just is. And it's like, I don't know if I want to be spending my time on something like that.
Like you, yeah, for an average bro, probably not because like, I come from poker, and so I would do sabermetrics and stuff as a young man and going to college for sports management and stuff like that. And, but like statistics and all that type of stuff with sports betting was like, I had to go building a model, like even just a simple stats model and stuff was basically starting fresh for me back in the early days of DFS. But it was a fun challenge. It was a fun challenge too. But like that kind of guy, I'm not sure you want to. I think though, with for those type of people, like if you're smart and you're obsessed, you could be good at anything. It's just whatever you're obsessed with. And if you're obsessed with DFS, you'll probably still be okay. But it's definitely harder. I think that the juxtaposition between like prediction market sports betting and DFS is, I think of DFS more like a video game kind of. It's like, I don't know, it's more interesting for me of a game to learn how to beat, like chess or something, or poker. It's more similar to that, where prediction markets and sports betting are more market-based portfolio, comparing prices, which is interesting. It's just not interesting enough for me to be super obsessive about. And like, that's how I think you get good at stuff, and you can't really control it. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but
no, I get that 100%. Like, that's why I like the original version of Pick Six, is because it was like a game, right? Mm-hmm. It was like you were, what other people did actually mattered, just like DFS. Whereas, sports betting is much more of like, it's not entirely, but it's much more of like just like good data science problem. Overall, the prediction markets are a little bit of a blend between it, but yeah, I totally resonate with a lot of that.
Well, and Brian, now too, because like a lot of what you were doing, and I assume a lot of people before all the publicly available sims, like that was part of the fun of like, hey, I'm building this tool that the field doesn't have access to. This is going to give me a huge edge. Separating like the input stuff, both projections and, generating accurate fields and stuff, like are sims at as good as they're going to get? Like, are the sims themselves just, or can they continue to improve and get better and better, even setting aside like the input side of stuff?
Oh yeah, there's still a ways to go.
Okay.
And I think they will. Like, there's competition. We're working on our stuff. It's really just a matter of getting the coding done from stuff we already know how to do to make it commercial friendly for like a whole bunch of people to use really quickly and not break and stuff like that. And I see, other places like iterating, changing, doing things, copying other people, copying us, stuff like that. And so there's still a way to go. I think the way to, like, if you could do it better, like that type of guy who gets obsessed and can do it better, it's possible, but very hard. And you're probably better off like pursuing a different career. Like, you're probably really, really smart. Like I said earlier, but I think the way to go about it is more like Yuta, honestly, like, is just use the tools with no ball stuff, which is the complete opposite of what I would have said 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I'd be like, no, just build like a little, listen, no one's doing this here. Let me show you how to do this. Here's a couple tricks. Here's what people are doing wrong. You just do this the opposite way and you'll make money over time. Now, I think you really need the no ball aspect. I wouldn't have said that 5 years ago.
Yeah. SP, do you venture into the ball knowing with any of the speculation, or is it all from like a modeling game theory perspective for you?
Yeah, I mean, this is a common theme on our podcast. Like, I don't think you can really, like, especially in DFS, it makes total sense. But like in any competitive market, like, you need to know ball a little bit to compete. Like, there's in like a very uncompetitive world, like DFS maybe 4 years ago or something, when there weren't sims, like a sim was enough. When everybody has a sim, the differentiator is going to be the people who have, it goes back to like, the projections, which is at its core. I think there was a quote, I don't remember who said it, but like, projection is knowing ball or whatever. Like, that's
yeah.
okay. Right. I mean, like, at its core, that's how you generate an edge, like in any of these games, is you know something about the sport or the game or what's predictive. And that's the knowing ball is not just like knowing who the backup running back or whatever is. It's knowing like what's predictive and what's actually important. So I think in all the sports that I bet and I'm doing stuff with, I hope I know, things about it that, like, you just can't build a good model if you don't know ball, to some extent in anything that's competitive, so.
Yeah. And if you've ever worked with a coder who's not from America doing these type of things, you learn that real fast.
Here we go. This is did I just tap into a Donald Trump press conference here, or is this Brick 75?
The worst people coding my stuff. But no, seriously, like you go like, oh, here I want, this guy throws a pass. These are the receivers that are going to catch it. They're like, they're completely lost. They're like, when's the goalie get involved, right? Or something. Like they don't know the sport. So you have to explain every little detail to them to get some semblance of the model you want if you're building it out through somebody else. So like even just simple that like to your average sports fan would be like, that's not no ball. It's like that, even that can help, where some people don't know as much as all these super sports fans, just for building a simple model. Knowing ball can help. But like the thing with the tools now in like this no ball thing, I think is like, you couldn't do this before, but now you can. Like if Yuta knows the market's got this guy coming in at 45% owned, but he's going to really be more like 37%. I'm just making up an example here.
Yeah.
And, you could do this with projections and market share and all the way down the list. Now he can actually go and test that, or someone like him can go and test that and be like, how much does that matter? Because sometimes it doesn't matter that much. Sometimes it matters a lot. Where in 2019 or 2020 or whatever, they'd be like, oh, that guy's kind of high. I'll just not play him. It's like, well, maybe that's not the answer. Maybe like you're playing about 15% of your lineups or something like that. You know what I mean? And now there's portfolio theory and dupes, of course, is a lot more popular in figuring those things out and dialing those in. Just adding up all these small edges and using your no ball and your like no DFS ball, like know where the mark, like if you listen to a lot of DFS content, you could be like, okay, Pete, Yuta, Levitan, etc. They're all on, whoever this week. He's going to be much higher than 35% owned. I know that's what every site's saying. He's going to be like, you can leverage that information. You couldn't do that before.
Yeah, and like I'm at the point with DFS and SP mentioning all the level 55 and all the out leveling stuff. Like I think I would enjoy a game where I fill out a card and take higher or lower on like aggregated ownership projections. Like that would almost be more fun to me at this point than just getting my dick kicked in against everyone using all these sim tools.
There's also best ball. But go ahead.
I was going to say maybe there'll be prediction markets on it, and you can get your fill that way.
That's true. I mean, as we transition to that stuff, what are the things that are most exciting to you, where you find yourself like, oh, I want to go model this, or I want to work on, solving this? Is it the prediction market space?
I think yes. I've always been attracted to opportunities where, you've talked about on this show, like. Not many people get into sports betting to like be asking their aunt's third cousin for an account and like all this garbage that exists in like today's ecosystem. So any type of like game or system where like you can scale reasonably well, like just yourself. I mean, obviously DFS has this 100%. Pick Six had it. Like those are really attractive to me and really interesting for that reason, because it's just, that's not really something I want to be doing all the time, like just constantly, working with others and all that stuff. So yeah, it's really interesting to me from that perspective. Yeah.
I imagine that's another benefit for doing your guys' podcast too, is you're not as isolated. This is kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast. It's like, hey, like you're so by yourself in this world that you kind of have to force yourself out to like get social interactions, especially in the modern era, just maybe even generally, not even in our world. But the prediction market stuff, we've been really talking about it a lot on this show, Pete, is so fascinating on like so many different levels. The legal landscape is on fire right now. The popularity and rise of it is really, it's really, I imagine we're all siloed into like thinking it's bigger than it actually is, but it's definitely getting bigger, definitely getting traction. And the whole contract idea that it's based on, I think is something super useful, because you mentioned it, like in sports betting, like who wants to get their grandma's account and then burn their grandma's account and then, go through all this BS you have to do with the sports books. I mean, this is a obvious answer, which is essentially an exchange, but slightly different. Do you want to like, do you think there's a difference between an exchange and a prediction market functionally?
No, I think they're
Okay.
functionally the same thing.
Okay. Well, then you're not going to be hired by the PR team, I think.
Well, I think I've ruled, if they could probably listen to one of our podcasts, and I don't think we like to, we have no sponsors on our podcast. There's a lot of good with all of these companies, and I'm happy to take it in whatever direction you want. I think all these companies have the potential to add like a lot of utility to all types of bettors, winning bettors, non-winning bettors, casual, like everybody. Not even bettors. Like I think there is like some truth in all of the sort of pie in the sky, like helping society things. Like I think there is a lot of truth in some of those things. I think it just rubs. There's aspects also that are extreme and misleading or whatever that rub people the wrong way. So yeah, it's really interesting, and each one is very actually quite different, like what's out there right now.
Now you said the pie in the sky thing, it just got my alarm bells going, is because I really think you got a podcast. I really wish we would push the line that this is an entertainment product, and like, so you don't like the entertainment, person who says we should get rid of this, good, that's good for you, don't use it, but it's an entertainment product, because there's just like this inherent, this is gambling equals evil, and so like there should be tons of regulation and it's sinful and stuff like that, where if we just talk about this as an entertainment product, I think more so, and if we're going like, no, it's beneficial to society, people will be like, okay, pal.
Well, I think gambling. I agree with you on gambling companies like that. They should always be treating themselves as entertainment products. I think these companies are sort of between a rock and a hard place if they say we're entertainment companies, because they don't want to use the G word, the gamble word. Mm-hmm. They want to, the way they get, treated as serious businesses that can be in the CFTC is having like economic utility. So I think they need to steer. I think it would be a very bad idea for them to be like, this is an entertainment product, because then they're going to be like, okay, then go through your, state regulators with entertainment and gaming and all these things. They're trying to make the argument that they're not, like gaming.
Right.
So
I agree 100%. I said this on, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, like when the DFS companies were going, we're not gambling, right? Back when they were trying to get legalized, and it's like, yeah, sure, pal, but they should say that. I'm saying like podcasters, generally speaking, in our little circle, like we just instead of, because like there's always the caveat, like you always have to go, I know there's problem gamblers and somebody's life is ruined, and so gambling's bad, but we really would like to enjoy our entertainment product. It's like, we're always on our back leg defending this entertainment product. And so like, who better to like get the message out there than podcasters? But yeah, I agree with you. They should be playing this game as much as they can. I think they are different. What do you guys think? So now in politics, there's a difference between like right and wrong and what's actually going to happen, legally even, and what's actually going to happen. But I think they're two materially different things. One is a company putting up a whole shit ton of lines They're just like coupons you could think of. They're just trying to attract customers on the majority of them because they think they have an edge. The edge uses it. The customer uses it because they get some sort of level of enjoyment out of it as an entertainment product. That's my take on that. With these, you can actually buy and sell the position. I think that materially makes it a different. I know some people would probably laugh at that difference, but I think it's definitely, if you're competing or buying contracts from other individuals, and like the election, the 2024 election, I said on the show before Biden dropped out that Kamala, like 9 cents was a good deal, even though I don't think she was going to win. Because this is before she got nominated. Because like if she does get nominated, it's going to go right up to 45 or something, because that's just the demographics of the country voting wise. And you could just sell it. So even though like you can't do that with your Bears bet. So it's like these are very different products. Maybe I'm describing it incorrectly, but like, do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, so I think there's a lot of differences between like the sports books that people have access to and have familiarity with in today's like America as compared to the exchanges. I think there's meaning like the price is very different, and the ability to interact with like the buying and selling and being on both sides. I mean, really it's like the world where you can operate as the house, and right. So the ideal world of exchanges is right. It pushes margin to zero, right? Because you have people wanting to make markets on both sides. You have sharp people wanting to make markets on both sides and collect a very, very thin bid-ask, spread, similar to like how financial markets work. And that's really good for casual gamblers, right? Because then they're not paying 10% to get or more to make their bet on like DraftKings or FanDuel. They're paying 0.25%. So that's really good for them. And in theory, it's good for a select group of entities who are collecting the whatever 0.25% on each market. So like, I think it's like we have all these sports books, right? And we used to have more, and we still have a lot. And it's like really onerous on someone to sort of manage those all and like get the best price and do all this. And it's not fun stuff. An exchange is like it centralizes all that in a way. So it does like if as these continue to go on, like if I'm talking to my casual friends, almost always the best price they're going to get on either side, whatever side they want a game, is going to be on the exchange, which is a really good thing.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the tweet you sent over, Brian, too, of looking at who offers better prices, Kalshi versus FanDuel, and it was actually FanDuel on that one. What do you think's the difference there, SP, then, as far as like you mentioned your buddies being able to get a better price there? I don't know if you saw this tweet. This isn't a gotcha question. I'm just curious, like where that's coming from.
No, and this goes to one of the things I said earlier. Like each prediction market / exchange is very different right now. So like on Kalshi, the fees are really, really high for a taker, meaning the person who's like taking the bet. And so that's really that totally distorts the ecosystem, because it's sort of the quote, like more rake is better or whatever, from who's that, Negreanu. It's like, so when you've increased the rake or hold so high on the takers, who do you get as your takers? People who are totally not price sensitive. And so it's created this dynamic on Kalshi where you can quote pretty wide and still get like filled. If you look at some of the other exchanges where that's not the case, it's extreme. It's much, much thinner. There's much more like of a jump to the other thing, is just like the actual width and whatnot. So like on Kalshi, you go by percentages. So like the thinnest you could quote is 1%. On other exchanges, you can quote like much smaller than that. So that's a very technical point, but that matters a lot in terms of like the prices people actually get.
Does Polymarket do the same thing, incentivize the market maker?
So I've not, that's the one I've really not interacted with at all.
Yeah.
Polymarket, my understanding, has extremely low fees, like low to no fees. So that would be like the opposite of this. they would have much less of an incentive to the maker than I would say like right now, and some of these are like, deals that you don't know about, NDAs with like, contracted market makers and all these things. So you don't know about everything. My guess is like the market makers on Kalshi have it the best currently.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense too, though, right? Because that's going to drive liquidity, which is going to give more markets to casual people to bet. Like
100%. And I don't know if you saw like all the drama this past week about a lot of these exchanges have like an internal market maker. So Kalshi has Kalshi trading. And their goal is to seed these markets so people can actually bet. Because like the worst user experience is someone wants to go bet on something and there's no money there. Like that's a horrible experience. And so, they're up in arms about like, oh, I thought we were betting against, peer-to-peer and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we're actually betting against Kalshi. When in reality, Kalshi trading is like taking the most toxic, horrible, like they're taking the worst positions that nobody actually wants to make markets for, like dimension markets and just crap nobody actually wants to take. And it's like a marketing spend, right?
Right. It's a marketing expense.
Yeah. So
did you see that, Pete? Kalshi's actually betting.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. That I wanted to like people listening might not have caught that. That was the controversy he's talking about. Is Kalshi's actually taking bets
in those situations when there is a market that they think people want, but no one's willing to put up the side for it? Is that the use case, SB?
Yeah, it would be something like, what is this person going to say on this earnings call? I would never in a million years I'm going to go make that market, right? I would have to be at my computer during it. Like it just doesn't make any sense. But they know people want to take on that market. So they'll go and like seed liquidity so that takers have something to take, right? It would be something like that.
Right.
And there was already a little controversy with one of those. Wasn't it the Coinbase CEO, Brian Armstrong, who kind of manipulated one of those markets?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the point of that. Like it's these horrible, and they don't really exist in sports. And so this is like everybody's going to compete for to be the maker in sports, right? Because it's at the end of the day, it's relatively easy to be a maker in sports. I know like people would like relative to the other stuff we're talking about here. Like I will take, a lot of action 10 minutes before kickoff on either side at a very small spread on an NFL game. Like that's not that hard to make money from something like that. It's very, very hard to make money when you're making in like this horrible toxic market. That's just, you're getting pass posted and, all these things that are just like horrible to maintain. So that's where like be interesting to see how many of those markets like exist. Because a lot of the insider trading type stuff are like those types of markets, right? So, yeah.
And that was one of the big stories from yesterday on Prediction Markets Twitter. It's now gotten so big that I feel like I can say there's Predictions Market Twitter at this point. But a Google insider had been exposed on Polymarket. He had profited around $1 million in a single day betting on the Google search markets. Google accidentally pushed the results early, then removed them, but not before it revealed he went 22 of 23 on his bets and ballooned to 3.9 million in open positions. This isn't a lucky streak. He previously made 150K plus predicting the early release of Gemini 3.0 before results were out. At this point, it's obvious he's a Google insider milking Polymarket for quick money. What are your guys' takes on like, because these are the more like interesting predictions markets in that they're not just glorified sports betting, but there's these huge information asymmetry risks with playing into them.
Yeah, I mean, my 2 cents is like, and I think the Coinbase CEO was even talking about this, is like, it's not, you could make an argument both ways on whether like you actually want this insider trading or you don't. Because like if your argument is prediction markets are to get the truth faster, you would want insider trading. I think the obvious like fault with that is that who is that money coming from and how is that sustainable? Like nobody is just going to continually dump to insider traders forever, right? Like so that's why we don't have insider trading in like the stock market and all these things. Is it doesn't create like a stable market where people want to participate. Like if everybody was insider trading on, stock market, like your average, the California firefighters' pension wouldn't be in the stock market. Like they wouldn't want to participate.
Mhm.
And so you need to make it people feel like they're not in some sort of rigged game. So it's a challenge, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you would think the market would just be very tiny then. And then the California Union would never invest in some tiny little market that is super volatile, right? So like I think there's a place for it still. Like it's fun, it's good entertainment. If it's getting to the point, it's bad optics is really the problem. I think a lot of this stuff, the past, I don't know, 6 months, I was saying they shouldn't get into sports betting yet. I think it would have been smarter to try to get legalized in all the states from the polling and good for the world angle, and then bam, slam it once you're legal, slam a bunch of sports bet. But they didn't wait. They went full bore for everything. And maybe they know more than I do. So I'm sure they know what they're doing. But I think this goes along with that, where you can get hammered by your political opposition for insider trading, and especially the lobbyists out there that we follow on Twitter, Pete, will love to hammer them on an issue like this. So optically, It looks back. I think from like a market standpoint, I do not care. I think it's fun. And like you're betting on it's a meta game. It's like, oh, who's the insider trader? Let's like follow the guys' names. There's like a lot of angles you could play to make money even on cheaters. And like if we're looking at it compared to the real stock exchange, like you don't think they're insider trading that shit. Like give me a fucking break. Like I'd much rather have it be the wild, wild west, and we have the crypto transactions. So like
it's on chain.
It's on chain. The dude tried to change his name from Alpha Raccoon to whatever the fuck this is.
It's kind of like what people used to always say with crypto, like, oh, this is everybody's using it for crime and all this. It's like that would be the dumbest place to use your Bitcoin in the most like traceable blockchain on the planet.
Right. Which would imagine if the stock exchange was like this, that'd be great. We'd know exactly where the insider trading was occurring, and you can adjust to it. And a good money manager would recognize this, right, and be able to keep the union's money safe. Maybe
so. SP, what kind of stuff have you been doing on the exchanges? Have you been making markets? Have you been taking? Have you been building tools? Like, what is your relationship with it been?
Yeah, mostly betting, either making or I would say 95% making on various exchanges. The other part of exchanges, which we really we haven't touched on, is like they're effectively like a decentralized way to have all these movers or whatever for you who have access to DraftKings and FanDuel. So for like just to walk through an example, if I have some big edge on some NBA player prop or something, I can offer a price that's like an ARB to the market or plus EV to the market and say, everybody come take my price. And what those people are going to do is they're going to say, oh, this is way off market. Like this looks great. I'm going to take this side at whatever exchange, and I'm going to bet the other side at DraftKings and collect my ARB. And that's like a way for me to indirectly, use people who have like clean DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever accounts to do that. So that's like a big part of it, I would say for me right now is trying to, like, in markets that I make, trying to attract people to take the other side. Because it's on some of the sites, it's easy. Like Kalshi, like they're linked up with Robinhood. It's people just click yes, like, and take your orders. If you're on like some of these smaller sites or doing more of a niche prop, you have to give them like a reason to want to take your side, or you're just not going to get filled. And so that's a lot of what I'm working on, is just trying to figure out like minimum prices, how to optimally like make markets and to get basically the best fill possible, most amount of money for the least cost, right? So all that. I
think I might just not be smart enough following that example. Can you help me? So people, you giving a really good price, they fill it. How are you benefiting from that?
Yeah, so let's say I think like the over on LeBron to score 20 points is I'm going to be doing math on real time here, so just bear
Let's do
with
it.
Let's say it's like I'll just say it's like a huge edge. Let's say it's minus 200, but the whole market is minus 110 each way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, here, everybody, I'm gonna take LeBron over at minus 120. That means anybody can take under at plus 120.
Yeah.
And so they're going to see this and they're going to be like, oh, the market's 50-50. I can get it at plus 120. This is an amazing bet. They'll take that bet. Some of them will arbit, right, and take the other side at a different book. So they have a mixed position of minus 110 and plus 120. And I have a great bet too, because I got something that should be minus 200 at minus 120. So it's, you don't have to, that was a really, really extreme example. You don't have to do that, right? Like in that case, you might just offer like one plus 105 or plus something, right? You don't have to necessarily arb to the market, but that's the idea is you need to, if you're just offering like minus 110, like they'll just take it at FanDuel. Like why would...
Pete, your confusion might be like, it doesn't make any sense because you could just bet the 100 at the sports book yourself. He will burn through accounts.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So, and I guess my thing would be just how often do you find spots where you're that off from the market that you can offer such a discount and still have an edge on what you're offering?
Well, so again, that was like a very extreme example, but all the time. So like if a line on DraftKings is minus 110 both sides and you have it minus 112 on one side, you can offer plus 106 and you're getting a pretty good bet and people will take that, right? Because that's like, you don't have, that's what I was sort of saying is like, you don't have to set up a full arb outside of the price, right? You could just set it up to make it look plus EV and people will take it, right? So it's like it's a blend and it's like the game and people are, like the next level is like trying to identify the sharp money on these exchanges, and there's some sites like trying to do stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's the idea is trying to get people to take what you want them to take, right? Like that's what you're trying to do when you're market making.
As someone who's not spent really any time on these exchanges, what is like I assume there's a bias or a prejudice to how the stuff is displayed. Like, is it in the homepage? Like, are the searches good? Like, how are people stumbling across these maybe smaller niche type market things? Because I bet that's like a huge aspect of it. Or can you link to your market out to people and be like, hey guys, I'm dangling this out there. Like, how do you get takers?
There are some people I'm not like active in Discord or anything, but I've gone into some of these sites Discords before, and there's like people who post like, hey, best price here. And I'm like, you got to be so stupid to fall for this. No, I think one of the big things is you want to leverage the tools that are out there, like the aggregator tools. So like if there's an odds screen that flashes like this looks really good, like you want to game those, right? Like if there's an odds screen that's like this is way off market, take this. You want to find like minimum thresholds to show up on that. You want to show up at the top. You want to show up at good times, like all these things. So I think there's just so many like sports betting tools these days that you want to take advantage of that, because you're right. Like nobody's just like combing through and picking like a random whatever turnover prop or something in the NBA. It's like that needs to show up, but there's just so many of these like EV bettors these days that there's so many tools that you can get things to surface on.
It's funny you say like when the sharp better goes, hey, the best price, here's my link, is like what idiot would do? That's like literally like DraftKings sports bet marketing. That's like what they do. It's like, hey, here's our lines. Like here, Dave Portnoy, he's like, here's the parlay of the day. Like that's
I don't think I have much pool as Portnoy. If I did, then we'd be really cooking with gas.
Oh God, that's Portnoy should have started his own exchange.
Yeah, that is like the transparency of being able to see. I was even listening to I think it was like Rufus Peabody on their podcast talking about how he likes the leaderboard stuff, that it's like an extra gamification element of that. Have you partaken in any of that? Do you hawk certain accounts because you kind of respect, trades they've made, or are you using that at all to your advantage?
Yeah. So the only ones that have like public leaderboards that I'm aware of is Kalshi and Polymarket. Like I said, I've not done much on Polymarket. I'm just starting to get into Kalshi. Kalshi has some of the other like sweepstakes based exchanges, the Novig, and I think you've had the Profit guys on before. Those ones are very like sports centric, so they just have like a way more options in terms of sports. Haven't done the leaderboard stuff is interesting just because like I think anybody who is serious at all is going to hide their trades for the most part on Kalshi. So I think most of the leading sports people hide their trades. On Polymarket, I'm not sure. I actually don't think you're able to, because it's all like on chain. The problem with it all is like price, right? Like when a bettor makes a bet, the price is like if there's someone you want to tail, it's usually gone. The price is usually gone. So it's like the same thing with sports betting. It's just really hard to tail someone sharp, no matter what, because the price isn't there anymore. They're going to take all the good price, right?
They are more lenient for automation, I believe, though, right? Polymarket, like automated betting.
Yeah. I think basically all these sites like want to hook you up on straight onto the API, right? So you
could do it much faster than sports betting in theory if you get.
Yeah, it would just be like if they're sharp and they took it at some price, it's like they probably took all of it. If there was like something, if they're taking right, it's making it's a little bit different, right? But
Well, yeah, I have some ideas. I don't want to say them though, but it's my understanding too. Is this right? Polymarket. I know I've never done Polymarket. They haven't been legal in America. I still, or maybe they just went live some places, but is they have a cool incentive structure, and maybe I'm wrong, and you know the answer to this, where you get like a piece of a market you create. So like if someone created like the vice presidential nominee for the Republican Party, and that became $100 million market or whatever, they get like a couple grand for creating that market. Do you know about that?
I did hear about that. I thought that was actually a Kalshi idea, but I honestly can't remember. But I mean, it's an interesting idea for sure. I mean, I think one of the challenges the sites are going to have is there's like a right amount of markets, and I don't know what that answer is. And there's a right amount of like even strikes or prices within the market. Because if you go to like some of these sites, it's like you can bet on the Titans +6 and +7, +8, and it's like you do want to centralize liquidity in some way, right? Like you want people to be like in some big markets, and that's like what's generating buzz. You don't want it to be like overwhelmed. But each site has like a very different amount of markets up, and it really affects like how deep the liquidity is in any given market. Like for every other market you add, it just decentralizes it a bit.
You just gave a good reason why my criticism of exchanges is a soft criticism, is that it'll turn into like the old poker head-to-head lobbies, or DFS head-to-head lobbies for that matter, where that starts off fun and there's pretty juicy, and eventually gets to the point where there's just like the two best players in the world posting all the head-to-heads, and only donkeys will take them. And so at least at a sports book, a normal dude could put a little legwork in and beat it, but he's probably not beating Rufus. And if the exchanges get to that point, is that there's less vig, but is it really a better situation than the sports book? Mm-hmm. Now, you gave an example of like you're putting lines better than the sports book, and they could easily take advantage of this, right? So,
but that won't happen. That for sure won't happen forever. I think the way I think about it is it's sort of like a barbell. The people who are going to be better off on exchanges are people who don't want to try it all and just like bet because they're going to probably get the best price, like long term. And then the people who are very, very serious, like eventually it'll be like institutional level, making markets for everything and collecting the spread. The people who are going to be worse off in exchange land would be like people like me who like are like one-man shops trying to make money gambling, right? So yeah, that's how I would think about it.
I mean, this kind of dovetails with Brian, you wanting to talk a little bit about the legislation stuff, but SBD, does it give you any pause with legal uncertainty, like how much time you want to devote? I assume building tools, models and stuff, if this ultimately gets rugged, or, the states end up saying, okay, wait, we're not actually cool with these prediction markets masquerading as sports books?
I mean, your two's guess is as good as mine on whether this will stay legal or not. I mean, what I do think is for sure, until there's a new admin in, we are in the clear. So to me, we at least have a couple years here, and they will be very good if you could take advantage of them. So like to me, it's worth it, even if it is relatively short term. Long term, I'm sort of split. Like it's a lot of tax dollars that is leaving the states if this happens. And so the states are going to fight like hell to not have this happen, and they are. They just move slow. So I could see a world where sports are removed. I find it really hard just with the investments that have been made into these companies and the big institutions that are behind them now to see them like going to zero. I find that hard to believe. But at the end of the day, like sports is all their money right now. So without sports, they're like nothing. So I think, like the big, the organization that runs NASDAQ and all, like with all them behind it, like they're going to fight as well. So I don't know. I probably like that side more than, state lawyers, but yeah.
I could definitely see in some states, like I would love. Is there a market yet? Someone should put a market up for this. I'm surprised that there's not, of whether it will be legal, how or whatever you want to do it. But what you said of no sports, I can imagine some states they just lose. You can't do it in that state. Some states there'll be in fully, in some states they'll be in but without sports. That's what my bet would be. I don't know. I'd need to see the lines. That would be because, you're 30. If you were 40, I think you might have a different opinion on the tax dollar thing, because like that logic would mean that I'd be playing poker right now. You know what I mean? Because that's a lot of tax dollars that the state of Illinois is not getting.
But they were never collecting that, right? So this is tax dollars that they had and is being removed versus, just hypothetical tax dollars that they could collect, right?
Well, they're collecting the players' income taxes, but they weren't collecting directly from the company. They were probably getting some ancillary fees and stuff like that. But your point is true. But also, if tax dollars were this important, then they would just legalize it and collect them. Like, why not? Why don't they do that? And the reason
you mean like on the prediction markets? What?
Well, no, they could have legalized poker 15 years ago.
Oh.
And then collected those tax dollars. They had that solution on the table, and they didn't do it. And the reason they didn't do it is because the political interests in the states were not having it, were not aligned. I was thinking of this earlier, like a way to like describe how the state government works, just governments in general. Like my old line was, it's the mob, but with voting, and your voting doesn't really matter. But I think it's more like the civil court system for like large companies where you could bribe the judges. Like, I think that's kind of, so like they're kind of, they're arguing over who's going to be allowed to have what. And these interests, these interests that are embedded in there. Another thing with tax dollars and stuff like that, SP, is the casinos here employ thousands of employees or hundreds of employees for those legislators. They're their neighbors, so you don't have casinos. You don't have you don't have a polymarket casino that employs actual residents. There's no union influence at Polymarket, and unions are still huge, especially in Illinois. And so the battle is really, and these people, they know each other, their kids marry each other. It's very incestuous. It's like working at like a restaurant, kind of. I don't know if you guys ever worked at a restaurant or know people who worked at a restaurant, like everyone's sleeping with everyone. Go work at a Capitol. Everyone's sleeping with everybody. It's everyone's drunk and sleeping with each other. And so like there's a lot that doesn't make sense. Like there should be an incentive for them to get as much tax dollars as they can if they think this is a thing that should be legal, but it doesn't make sense. that way because they already have these relationships built up, and incentive structures the other way to keep them out. Now, since it's this federal battle with, Don Jr.'s involved, there's a lot of big names on these boards, that they have the license at the federal level. They might just be able to win in the courts. Poker didn't have that. So I think they have a much better shot of staying legalized. I still think the most likely answer is what I described, some sort of hybrid, like illegal in a couple states, sports gone in a couple states, legal in a decent amount of states. I think that's where it ends up. But I think the battle is a lot tougher than these guys realize. Like we were talking about this on the last show, like the physiognomy of these tech CEO bros. I do not think they were thinking this through. That's my gut. Maybe they are. There's a lot of money involved in this. So maybe they are. And, that's another signal SP mentioned. Like, listen, there's a lot of smart people investing billions of dollars into this. So they probably know more than me.
I think
Robinhood being involved is big too.
I think they're taking it out of the DraftKings and FanDuel playbook, is just push the bounds, get big enough, get popular enough, and then they have to let you keep going, right? It's sort of their strategy, and they have, in my opinion, they have a good 2 years to do that, and then we'll see at that point.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is why I didn't want them to go sports betting so quickly. If they could have mainstreamed the prediction markets a little bit more. The thing that DraftKings had is fantasy football. These legislators, they don't know anything about anything, right? But like, they know people play fantasy football. They're in fantasy football leagues, some of them. They know people who play fantasy football. And so when DraftKings was like, we're not gambling, we're fantasy football, that actually kind of worked. Prediction markets, you're going to have to sell the distinction between a contract and a sports bet and stuff like that. They're busy. They're like, yeah, I don't know, it sounds like sports betting, bro. You know what I mean? So I think DraftKings had an advantage that fantasy football was seen as a simple nerds game that lots of people did, where this is, they have very flashy marketing, with their Twitter, their viral tweets and stuff. They're going head first into sports betting pretty fast, and the insider trading thing. I don't think I like I said, I think likely still going to happen in some form or fashion. But I don't think it's as easy as DraftKings. And also too, SP, like DraftKings, it's a miracle that they pulled this off. I mean, I don't know how they did it. It was not looking good in a lot of states, but they did it, man. So that could just be an anomaly.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think the challenge that the prediction markets are in is if they don't go sports, they have no business. Like 95% of their business right now is sports. So I don't think they necessarily have the luxury of slow rolling, because they just would have no business right now. So
yeah.
So
especially
it's a challenge.
You're paying for all these lobbyists now and stuff.
Right. Right. You're fighting legal battles in every state. Like, I think you need to have some money coming in, right? So
yeah.
Are you
the calculation might just be like, we're gonna get this either way. Let's just go for it. Sorry, Pete, go.
Oh no, I was just curious, SB, have you on the exchanges, have you done any non-sports stuff? So event-based stuff, random politics, anything fun like that? Have you dabbled in it?
I have dabbled. I've not done anything seriously. I'm just so worried about some of this like insider stuff in many of these markets. So I'd have to find like a market where I feel like I can go to sleep and like not just completely take the worst of it while I'm sleeping or something. So I think that's just like a big problem that a lot of these have. Like, no is the short answer. Not really. No.
Yeah, you listen to the stories that Dahmer tells, who's kind of regarded as the GOAT with this stuff, and some of these random elections he's doing, and he's like translating foreign languages and trying to scrape just for any bit of information, because there is the information asymmetry there, where just if you want to outwork someone in one of these hyper niche markets, there can be a nice edge there.
Yeah, it's not like you're just going to go, think like, I actually do think Taylor Swift's going to get married this year. I think I have a good opinion on this and like make money that way. So like I've looked at it. I'm like, there's no way I'm working as hard as someone else is probably on this market. So I'm just not going to bet it.
Yeah.
That is another angle, Pete, is you could be the guy who just hammers when news comes out at 2 a.m.
Right. Which that's not for me. It's not for me.
Like it's kind of like back counting in blackjack,
Yeah. No, the reason I was thinking about it though too is because I was listening to Dahmer talk about it, and there is this idea of we talk a lot about with DFS and sports betting how you can pick up these new skills that you learn kind of as a means to get better at these things. And he was talking about all the random things he's become an expert in because of the action he had on it. He was talking about the Britney Spears conservatorship case with her father and how he was like reading like hundreds and hundreds of pages of like California law on how these conservatorships work. And I just thought that was just so funny too, that you just become an expert in the most random shit because you end up having enough money on it.
That's great.
Yeah, there was one night where I was like doing deep research on what countries Donald Trump was going to go to this year. And then I was looking at it for like an hour and a half and I'm like, what am I doing? Like someone definitely knows this better than I do, and just closed all the tabs. But it is fun to like, to dive into them. At least the thought of it is at least fun.
That's another reason I do the sports betting stuff. And like we already went over, they need the money. So like, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that's the fun thing about this prediction markets.
Yeah.
Interesting market. Your girlfriend can be interested in it. Like what thing do we do that a normal girl would be interested in? It's like basically nothing, but they would, I've already talked about this with my fictitious girlfriend in Canada.
Okay, Brian, was that just you soft launching a relationship there on the stream?
I can't believe I'm on the show when this happened. This is an honor.
I've already talked to him about it.
Embarrassing me.
Look at that.
The Taylor Swift bridesmaids market, right?
There you go.
You can talk about that with girls. Who would know?
Yeah. Well, SP, it was great catching up with you. Everyone who doesn't already subscribe to the Risk Takers podcast should definitely take it out. As Brian mentioned, you guys go deep on some really cool niche subjects. What can people look forward to on that feed or a recent episode they should check out?
Yeah, we it's not like a light listen most of the time, but we do interviews with people who are hopefully like underexposed in gambling. I think we get some really interesting gamblers on there, and then we do like we do that every other week, and then the other week we sum up news, questions, all this stuff. So there's a bunch of good interviews. If you're gonna check something out, I'd go back and listen to one of the interviews over the past month or so. I think there's some really good stories there.
I like the last episode. I like where you guys talk about modeling stuff. So like there's something for everybody. And you guys give out a lot of alpha too.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we both just like talking about this stuff. And if it's just a trade-off, like it's always hard to talk about these things.
Yes.
And, I don't think we go overboard hopefully at any point, but
it's hard because it's also like content. You got to make good content for people listening. You want people to listen to your show, of course. It is tough. My whole thing always over these years is I just don't want to create any monsters. That's the only thing, especially in DFS. Well,
DFS is so zero sum in a way. It's not that sports betting is not, but it's more indirect in sports betting. So 100%, I understand that.
Right.
And speaking of which, I bumped up my DFS shows to this afternoon because I'm traveling tomorrow. So we're actually going to have a block party and Bully the Sims with Utica at 3 p.m. So here in less than 20 minutes, JM on first. Yuta will be swinging by around 4:15. So an early look at the week 14 slate. Shit My Money did awesome last week, but everyone always misses when Yuta isn't there to share his ball knowledge. So excited to get back in the saddle with him. We still got the 50% off going with Run the Sims. If you want to check that out with promo code Pete. Anything else people should know about, Brian?
I think I saw he took 6th in the lottery last week. You should ask him.
Okay.
I think I saw.
It's so like I'm just completely unfazed. Like he could win 2 millis in a single week, and I'd just kind of shrug my shoulders and be like, "That sounds about right."
It would take me like a year to get over taking like top 5 and not winning the million. You know, what I mean? For him, he doesn't even care.
Yeah. All right. Thank you again, SP. Thanks to everybody hanging out in the chat. I will throw this up on the podcast feed if you guys are new around here. We also have the audio version of all of these shows. You can just search Lulz Podcast and you should be able to find it. Brian, I got to talk to you about next week. I'm traveling, so I might, be able to swing something or not. I'll touch base with you. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your week and come watch the DFS shows here in a little bit. Peace.